people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children wade in the water. God said it's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand up and make it loud. Just like my God told the Pharaoh, let my people go, go. We are a new generation from the ones who have come before. He's calling us into freedom, let my people go, go. We don't shine at the shade. Give me a papa God, rain, make the heavens. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. The blood, sweat, and the tears that we gathered through the years. If you don't say you know what trouble, let my people go, go. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children wade in the water. God said it's gonna trouble the water. Wade in the water, we did wade in the water, children wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the
Good morning, good Tuesday morning, and good last day in the month of May morning. Good last Tuesday in the month of May morning. It's not easy to say the end of the month, like seriously, especially in our Lagos here. And you have to. Like we've actually been keeping our mental health in check and keeping our mental health in order and surviving the fifth month in the year 2022 is not by power, it's not by strength, it's not by muscle, neither is it by experience, it's by the grace of God. You're welcome this Tuesday morning as you join the conversation today on Lagoon Health Talk as we're broadcasting live to you from Marina, Lagos. And of course, if anyone says, what is even this Lagoon Radio Gogo Self? Lagoon Radio is your number one online gospel radio powered by the Diocese of Lagos, Church of Nigeria, Anglican Communion. And we have our social media handles on Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, on Instagram and Twitter at LagoonRadio.Ng, and for our YouTube channel on LagoonTV. If you need to have a view of our studio, you can tune into our YouTube channel, subscribe and turn on your notifications. And for more news update, you can visit our news channel as well on Lagoon.News. I still remain your host, no other person than your radio doctor. My name is Olabisi Simidele, okay, and the time is 4 minutes past the hour of 11 a.m. And last week we started a very important topic on our mental health series, and that was psychosis. We couldn't finish up, so we're going to finish everything up today. We started some topics on our mental health series at the beginning of this year, and we've been following that series, and we'll make sure we touch every aspect of mental health during the course of the year. We've done schizophrenia, we talked about stress, we talked about anxiety and anxiety disorder, we talked about OCD, that's the obsessive compulsive disorder, and today we'll be doing, we'll continue psychosis. And we said psychosis is a condition that affects the way the brain processes information, which causes you to lose touch with reality. And it's a combination of symptoms resulting in an impaired relationship with reality. It can be a symptom of serious mental health disorder, And people that are experiencing psychosis can have either hallucination or delusion, and they tend to see, hear, or believe things that are not real. And psychosis is a symptom, but not an illness. And psychosis is actually one of the symptoms of schizophrenia, and it can be triggered by a mental illness or a physical injury. It could be triggered by illness. It could be triggered by substance abuse. It could be triggered by extreme stress or trauma. And basically, even naturally, if you're stressed out, you know how you could be dramatic, so psychosis could actually be triggered by that. And we said psychotic disorder like schizophrenia. We actually talked about schizophrenia some times ago, and we brought a guest here. So we said that schizophrenia is a mental disorder in which people interpret reality in an abnormal way, and it actually involves psychosis that usually affects one for the first time, and it's always happened late in the teen years. In the late teens or early adulthood, and young people especially, they are likely to get psychosis. And the doctors don't even know why young people actually experience this. So, and basically, the episode stem for something else like drug use or medical condition, can even also tend to disappear in a short time, and they always stay away if you treat the condition that actually caused them. So basically, you can treat them symptomatically, and and we talked about the types of psychosis, which involves schizoaffective disorder, schizophrenia, brief psychotic disorder. I actually emphasized on this brief psychotic disorder last week Tuesday, and I said when a patient has only short sudden episodes or psychotic behavior, the condition is diagnosed as brief psychotic disorder. And these episodes are typically a response of stressful situations, and they usually last less than a month. And it could even, yeah, less than a month. It could even be days. It could even be minutes. And I actually gave an example that maybe like our dear Lagos, like after going through traffic or maybe on your way to work, you had some nasty experience. Maybe after you waited, you stood at the bus stop for like 1 hour, you couldn't get transport, and at the end of the day, after you now eventually got a transport, and the conductor is now trying to behave psychotically. Let me put it that way. So the stress you've gone through might actually allow you to react in a certain way, and even people might be like, showed you on your be me sister any suru is not as bad as it is, but you're already feeling it because your own situation has already been triggered by the stress you went through. So basically, psychosis is not madness, and psychosis is not illness. Let me put it that way. So in case you hear that someone has psychosis and you start to run away from the person, but hey, psycho, it's not a mental disease really, but it's just a mental health issue, which can even go away on its own. And like I said, it can be treated symptomatically. If your own psychosis is triggered by stress, you can actually treat it. Like by the time you take a rest, you calm your nerves, you're okay, you feel all right, then you can go about it, your day-to-day activities normally, and you would even feel it that your brain would actually start to work properly, to start to work normally. You start to process things in a normal way. We actually talked about symptoms of psychosis, and we said psychosis doesn't start suddenly. It follows a particular pattern. It starts with a gradual changes in the way you think about and understand the world. You and your family members can even notice maybe trouble thinking clearly. You might feel your brain might actually feel full, or you have trouble concentrating, a drop in grades or a drop in job performance, suspicions or unease around others, like you start suspecting people up and down. Even if those people are innocent, you start suspecting them. Then lack of self-care or lack of hygiene. There are some people that naturally they are not hygienic. Let me put it that way. But if you're a kind of person that you've always been a hygienic person, and all of a sudden you just start lacking self-care, you start you now change from maintaining a good personal hygiene to switching to bad hygiene. You don't just care about yourself, you're just there. It's one of the symptoms. Then with spending more time alone than usual, Though we have people that are basically introverts, but it shouldn't be more than usual. Even the so-called introvert, they still have friends, like they still have people they move with, they roll with, they chat with, and all that. But if you now start feeling comfortable staying alone, like spending time alone, for a duration of time that is more than usual, then you should watch it. Then strong emotions than situation calls for. You just display kind of emotions for something that is just minute, something small, or if you don't even display emotions at all, maybe where others are actually having a kind of feel that, oh, I'm so sorry, this is not supposed to happen, you ain't feeling any emotions at all. Is one of that's how psychosis starts. Then we have some early signs of psychosis: hearing, seeing, and tasting things others don't. Like I gave example last week that maybe if a family is eating and you're the only one tasting kerosene inside the food that was prepared, then you should watch it. Then hanging on to unusual beliefs, thought, or no matter what others says, pulling away from family and friends and what have you. Then we also have symptoms of a psychotic episode, which are hallucinations. We have tactile hallucination and auditory hallucination. Auditory is when you're hearing voices when no one is around, and the tactile is having these strange sensations or feelings you cannot explain. We also have visual hallucination, like you're seeing people or things that are not even there, or you think the shape of things looks wrong. That one's FD. Then we also have delusions. We talk about delusions, like when you're feeling as if outside forces are in control of your feelings or your actions, or when you think that every time it's village people that are actually responsible for anything you're going through. Then when you give huge meaning to just small comments or small events. Like I was on the streets of social media a few minutes ago and before the start of this show, and I was trying to read comment on a particular post, and I was like, this comment is not worth this thing now. This is too much. Kilagbe kileju. So that's actually another symptoms of delusion. And then another type of delusion is when you feel you have special powers, or you feel you're on a special mission on earth, or you actually feel like you're a god, like you feel like Spider-Man or Superman or superhero, or you feel like Ladybug, like you feel like you are more powerful than you look. That's, please, you have to watch it. Then we also have some negative symptoms, and we mentioned that. Then we mentioned catatonia. We also mentioned constantly talking with rapid speech pattern, because commonly a person who is experiencing psychosis can always have confusing or disrupted thoughts. Then when you switch topics at the middle of the sentence with no explanation, or when you experience a sudden loss of your train of thought, causing you to pause or freeze abruptly when you're actually trying to communicate. Then we talked about the causes and risk factors, because there is no exact known cause of psychosis. Well, we have some risk factors, which are genetics, substance use, trauma, injuries, illnesses. Like substance use, anyone that is used to all this marijuana and all those things, they are actually at higher risk of having psychosis. Then we talked about injury and illnesses, like traumatic brain injuries, brain tumors, stroke, Parkinson's disease, dementia, HIV. They can all bring on psychosis. And psychosis can also be a symptom of mental illness like schizophrenia, as well as bipolar disorder. So now we have some drugs, really, and we have some drugs that depress the nervous system, such like cannabis, or stimulant drugs like cocaine and all that, all these hard drugs, and those drugs can affect one's brain activity in dramatic ways. So what seems real to you would not even match with the whole world. So you're seeing a different thing. That's like psychosis triggered by drugs. So most of the time, this actually goes away when one stops the use of these drugs. And but there's a strong link between all these drugs and primary psychosis. So basically, more than 25% of those who are diagnosed with amphetamine-induced psychosis later have psychotic disorder. And a particular one of these drugs is actually involved in roughly half of all cases, and studies has actually suggested that these drugs may not so much cause psychosis as the condition uncovers. So basically, drugs used to treat mental illness can actually lead to problems as well. Although it's very rare, it happens on a rare occasion. And if you've been taking antipsychotic drugs, I won't mention the name of the drugs now. If you've been taking antipsychotic drugs for months or for years, you can develop a movement disorder because of the long-term effects of this medication in your brain. And don't forget, psychosis is actually a brain condition. It has to do with the brain, and the brain controls everything in the body. So if you stop taking antipsychotic medicines, you can actually get supersensitive psychosis. So that's if you stop it. And doctors think it happens because ongoing use of these drugs can change how your brain responds to the chemical called dopamine. And when we had our show on schizophrenia, our guest talked about dopamine. And I asked her to shed more light on it. So you can catch that, or you can catch up with that on our YouTube channel. You get that there. So now some psychotic medications can actually carry increased risk of psychosis. So most drugs triggered symptoms will actually clear up after the drugs leave your system. And psychosis from cocaine or PCP, popularly known as angel dust, could actually last for weeks. And there are even some that could last for years. Like if you've actually made this thing your habit, it could last for years. So while you wait for the episode to pass, your doctor can actually ease the symptom with an anti-anxiety drug or maybe with an antipsychotic. All right, let's go on at this music break, and we'll be right back to discuss the medical condition of psychosis. We have the female hormone shift, the diagnosis, and the treatment for psychosis. Stay connected to Lagoon Radio. We'll be right back.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Sometimes on this journey, I get lost in my mistakes. It looks to me like weakness is a canvas for your strength. And my story isn't over, my story's just begun. And failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Come on, say failure won't define me, 'cause that's what my Father does. Just lay your burdens down. Ooh. And here in the Father's house, check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh. You're in the Father's
This
house.
is Lagoon Radio.
Arrival's not the end, and arrival's not the end game. The journey's where you are, and you never wanted perfect, you just wanted my heart. And the story isn't over if the story isn't good, and failure's never final when the Father's in the room. I said, failure's never final when the Father's in the room. Ooh, lay your burdens down. Ooh, here in the Father's house, check your shame at the door, 'cause it ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, yeah, you're in the Father's house. Woo! You're in the Father's house now. You're right here in His arms, right here in His love. Sing this with me, prodigals. Prodigals come home, yeah. The helpless find hope, 'cause love is on the move when the Father's in. Prison doors fling wide. The dead come to life, singing love is on the move when the Father's in the room. Miracles take place now. The cynical, find faith now. Love is breaking through when the Father's Jericho walls are quaking. The strongholds now are shaking. Love is breaking through when the Father's in. Love is breaking through when the Father's in the road. Ooh, lay your burdens down. And here in the Father's house, just check your shame at the door. It ain't welcome anymore. Ooh, you're in the Father's house. There's no shame here, no fear here, only love. Na 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 na.
This is Lagoon Radio.
Prophesy with me today. Prodigals are coming home. Say, prodigals come home now. The helpless find home. Love is on the move. Prison doors fling. Prison doors fling wide.
This is Lagoon
The dead
Radio.
bring to life. Singing love.
All right, so welcome back. Don't forget to follow our social media platforms: Facebook at Lagoon Radio Nigeria, Instagram and Twitter at Lagoonradio.Ng. If you want to contribute, you can drop your comment on Facebook or YouTube platforms, or you can actually send in your comment to our studio line on 08189 Lagoon. That's 08189524666. 08189524666. So what are the medical conditions of psychosis? We have some list of medical conditions here, and we have the postictal psychosis, popularly known as PIP, and this actually happens with some people. It happens in some people with epilepsy who have had a number of seizures in a row, and it's more likely when you've had a seizure disorder for a long time, and or you've had mental illness in the past. And antipsychotic drugs can actually stop symptoms and can actually help prevent future episodes. Then hypothyroidism is actually another one, and when one's thyroid gland is not working well, it could actually it's actually another medical condition that could lead to psychosis because of the way the thyroid hormone affects your brain. You may have hallucinations, you may have delusions, or you may also have change to your sense of taste, your sense of smell. And if there's not enough in your body, so you'd have to actually go through a test to actually check your level of thyroid stimulating hormones to confirm and actually rule out other conditions such as schizophrenia. So taking thyroid hormone can help you balance your glands activity and end the psychosis. And basically, I would actually advise that maybe part of your routine check, you shouldn't forget your thyroid glands as well. Just check it out. Then we also have something we call female hormone shifts. Because although it's extremely rare, some women have menstrual psychosis. Out of balance hormones at different points in their cycle can affect thinking and moods, which is actually very, very common in women. It's actually common in women, but it's really kind of, yeah. So maybe during your menstrual flow and all that, you will tend to have mood swing, mood change. Like if anybody just wants to find your trouble, let them keep asking you questions. At that particular point in time, you will tend to actually react in a very negative way. And the person might not even know what you're going through. So it's actually a kind of shift in your hormone. And this type of psychosis can appear at the beginning, around ovulation, or during the few days before your next period starts. So you need to actually observe and take note of all this, especially for my gender, the female gender. Then we talking about menstrual psychosis. Menstrual psychosis can actually show up quickly and disappear just as fast. Like it shows up within a snap of a finger and disappears within the same snap of the finger. So during the episodes, you can actually be confused about what is real, and you can actually hallucinate or believe things that are not even true. We also have cognitive behavioral therapy, that's CBT, and antipsychotic psychotic drugs, which can actually help you ward off your symptoms and even with hormone levels that are hard to predict. So to me, I actually go for the cognitive behavioral therapy instead of the antipsychotic drug. But in case the CBT doesn't work, you can actually do the antipsychotic drugs. So it's now left with your doctor, or your doctor can even decide to do the combination of the two for you, depending on your level of reactions. The diagnosis of psychosis, you can see a psychologist or a psychiatrist. Like I used to say, you seeing a psychiatrist doesn't make you a mad person. You need to just visit a psychologist or a psychiatrist once in a while, so they'll find out what could actually be the cause of your symptoms and look for related conditions. So doctors diagnose mental illness after ruling out other things that could be causing your psychotic symptoms. The treatment for psychosis is important to actually get treated early, because as early as you detect, it's important for you to get treated early, basically after the first episode of psychosis, and that will help you keep the symptoms from affecting your relationships, from affecting your work, and also affecting your school or your business and all. So it can also help you to avoid more problems down the road. And you can get recommendations of coordinated specialist care, and this is actually like a team approach to treating schizophrenia when the first symptoms appear, and it combines medicines with therapy, and also combines with social workers and work and education support, like everything you need. And your family is actually involved as much as possible. The family is involved as much as possible, and you need to bear in mind that what your doctor recommends will depend on the cause of your psychosis. So now, if your doctor has actually recommended a particular medication for you, it doesn't mean it will work for another person. Your doctor has actually prescribed that one for you because of your own symptoms, because of the symptoms you're showing. So you can get prescriptions on antipsychotic drugs. It could be in pills, it could be in liquid, it could be in shots, that's an injection, to actually ease the symptoms. There will also be suggestion to avoid using drugs or alcohol, and you might also need to get treated in a hospital if you are at a risk of harming yourself or harming others. And if you can't control your behavior, or if you can't do your daily activities, they might actually be forced to keep you in the hospital. So your symptoms will also be checked as well. Causes will be looked for, and best treatment will be suggested for you. So we have quite a number of treatments here. We have the psychotherapy, which involves counseling alongside using medications that can help manage your psychosis. And for psychotherapy, we have, like I said, we have the cognitive behavioral therapy, we have the rapid tranquilization, we have the supportive psychotherapy. The rapid tranquilization is when psychosis becomes agitated and you're at risk of hurting yourself. It's actually necessary for you to actually calm down. So the administration of this medication is called a rapid tranquilization. So cognitive behavioral therapy can actually help you realize when you have psychotic episode, and it also helps you figure out whether what you can see or hear is real or you're just imagining. So the kind of therapy also stresses the importance of antipsychotic medications and sticking with your treatment. That is very important. Sticking with your treatment is as important as ever. Then supportive psychotherapy, it actually helps you to learn to live. It helps you to live with your psychosis or with your condition, or also helps you to manage it. It teaches you healthy way of thinking as well. Yeah, you have it, but the supportive therapy has actually succeeded in teaching you the way to live with it and to manage your psychotic condition. Then we have cognitive enhancement therapy, and this is a use of computer exercise and a group work to help you think and understand better. Then family psychoeducation and support. It involves your family, your loved ones. It helps you to bond and improves the way you solve problems together. Like they make you feel that you're not alone in this. They are here with you. We also have a coordinated specialty care. That's the CSC. It actually creates a team approach in treating psychosis when it is first diagnosed. And coordinated specialty care combines medication and psychotherapy with social services and work and education support. So what are the complications and outlook for people with psychosis? Psychosis doesn't have many medical complications, but if left untreated, it could be challenging, or people experiencing psychosis, it could be challenging, and it could also be challenging for people experiencing psychosis to maintain a particular quality of life. And this could cause other conditions to go untreated as well. So most people who experience psychosis, even the severe cases of psychosis, will recover with proper treatment, such as therapy. Could be therapy alone, or it could be medication alone, and it could actually be the combination of therapy and medication. So in conclusion, psychosis is not madness. It's just a mental health disorder which can actually be solved. It could even go away on its own depending on the symptoms the person shows. So if you see anyone going through or having any of the symptoms of psychosis I outlined at the beginning of this show, please, you do not have to run away from them. Just try to identify with them and let them know that they are not alone, and you can even help them as well. That'll be all for today on today's edition of Lagoon Health Talk here on Lagoon Radio. Do join me same time next Tuesday on another fresh edition of a mental health series here on Lagoon Radio. We have another outline topic for next week on the mental health series. Stay connected to Lagoon Radio. My name is Olabisi Similede. Okay, to have a very, very pleasant morning.
This is Lagoon Radio.
God's gonna cover the water. We are the sons and the daughters. We gotta stand.